What are some of the reasons why ODOT is doing this road improvement project?
Most projects, the average lifespan for a project from the time we develop the concept for it to hitting construction, we're looking at average around 10 years.
Why 10 years? Like, why couldn't it be done yesterday? Like, what are the things involved that maybe we don't necessarily just know that contribute to the complexity of road construction? What is the total estimated cost of this project and how's it being funded? How does ODOT prioritize road repair? Is community feedback really important to ODOT, and then how does it really impact the plans that you do? Hello, my name is Franklin. I'm with.
TJ Gerlach with ODOT.
Okay, now what is ODOT?
ODOT is the Oklahoma Department of Transportation. We maintain all of the state highways in Oklahoma.
Okay, and what do you do for ODOT?
I'm a public information officer, so I communicate with the public and with reporters.
Okay, and what I realized with our first interview is it seems like you do this on a regular basis, just talking to media and all that. Is that correct?
I do talk to a lot of media, especially in the Tulsa area.
Okay, and so why are you here today at the Grove Community Center? What's going on?
So today we have a public meeting on State Highway 10 between Main Street or US 59 out east to State Highway 25. We're planning on doing some work on that highway, and we just want to let the public know what's going on and kind of get their feedback on that project as well.
Who is here with you? I mean, I think it would be interesting. I just got to talk to so many different people, very interesting people. But what are the types of people that come to a meeting like this?
So on our side, we have engineers, both from our District 8 staff, which is most of northeastern Oklahoma, and then we have also engineers with our consultants who are doing the actual design work on this project.
Okay. And then I even was able to talk to someone that's into environment, like considering environmental factors and
Right,
other
so we
things
have
like that.
a member of our environmental division out here, and they look at everything from wildlife and water to just how a project is going to affect residents in the area.
Okay. So it's very varied experience.
Hmm.
And then people could just come here and just talk to people.
Absolutely, we want to hear from the public when that's why we do these meetings.
Okay, that was amazing for me, very educational, and definitely worth my time. My only issue is I wish I had more time. I didn't realize how many questions I have about road construction, and so I really have really enjoyed my time, and so I'm thankful for you even taking the time to let me ask you
Absolutely,
some questions as well.
absolutely.
Okay, so what are some of the reasons why ODOT is doing this road improvement project?
So this section of State Highway 10, the pavement is wearing out. It's near the end of its service life, so we need to look at some improvement just for the pavement itself. Also, the sidewalks that are in the area, they're not accessible to all users, so we need to upgrade those to current ADA standards, and that's the Americans with Disabilities Act. So just making sure that somebody in a wheelchair can easily use the sidewalks, for instance. And then, just the amount of traffic that goes through Grove, especially during lake season, we get complaints all the time about just the number of traffic that comes through here. So we want to improve the facilities in the area just to help move some of that traffic through.
Okay, now I'm really excited about the sidewalk. I think that might be one of my favorite things about this because you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's around now 2 more miles of sidewalk.
Roughly, yes.
Okay, roughly about that. So I think about that in terms of running because I like to run. And so I have this phrase, what do runners do? Runners run. And so a 5K is 3.1 miles. So if someone was to actually go through the length of the sidewalk that y'all are proposing, then they could go one way, 2 miles, go back 2 miles. That's over a 5K distance.
Hmm.
So there's also it's pretty safe because I think you're going to have like traffic light. I mean, sorry, crosswalks as well and things like that.
Right.
I
So
believe.
whenever we update sidewalks, we also upgrade crosswalks in the area to make sure that they're striped correctly and signed correctly for traffic.
All right, excellent. So that's going to be. I'm really thankful about that too because when I'm trying to run, I'm thinking about safety too. I don't
Hmm.
want a car to hit me,
Exactly.
and so that's very helpful. Okay, so um, what is the total estimated cost of this project and how's it being funded?
So we have technically two projects in this area. One is around 11 million, the other is around 6 million. So altogether, we're looking at around $17 million.
Okay, so when you say two projects, what are those you're talking about? Is you're saying sidewalk is one project and the road's another, or what are the
No,
two projects?
the way it actually works out is right inside of town. We have one project, and then the other piece of that project is actually out toward Highway 25,
Okay,
and then the section in the middle is a separate project.
okay.
So it just works out that way in the way that we do our program management.
Mhm. And then how is this being funded?
So most of our construction funding comes through the federal highway bill. So every year when the federal government or the federal legislature looks at funding highway projects in the nation,
Mhm.
that's where the bulk of our construction money comes from.
Okay. So how now is Grove paying for this, or is it really coming from the federal funds?
The bulk of it will be from that federal funds, and then we'll have some state money tied into that as well. But local tax dollars will stay local, and then your gas tax and your state registration fees, the portion that goes to ODOT will help obviously their portion.
Okay. All right. Excellent. And then what is the estimated start and completion dates for this?
So the letting date, which is when it goes out to bids for contractors, is in 2028.
Okay.
Once the bids are approved and once our Transportation Commission approves a project, it's usually 4 to 5 months after that that construction will begin. And then we're looking at around year and a half to 2 years for this to complete. So, best case scenario, we're looking probably 2030 for completion, but that's all subject to change based on funding availability.
Okay. All right, and you might have mentioned this already. I apologize if you did, but so part of this road is going to be expanded to like 5 lanes. Is that correct?
Right.
There's some other parts that are going to be 3 lanes.
Right. So on the outskirts, the edges of the project, both of those will be 3 lane areas. So you existing have like you existing is a 2 lane area right there. So we're going to add a center turn lane, and then in the middle of the project, we're going to expand that all the way out to 5 lanes. So you're going to have 2 lanes in each direction plus a center turn lane.
Okay. All right, excellent. And Grove is a growing town, so I mean, there's a lot of expansion. So I believe that's going to be helpful
Hmm.
because part of this road is even going to places like Grove Public School and other places that people typically are driving past. So then it would make sense to have a road improvement like this.
Absolutely. That center turn lane, it gets people turning left out of the through lane so that traffic just can continue on without having to stop for waiting for somebody to try to turn left. It gets that left turner out of the lane of traffic, as well. And in case somebody does have a breakdown, they also have a room to get over out of the way. So the safe traffic can again safely pass by them, and that's the number one thing that we do is improve safety. We want to make sure that everybody makes it home safe.
Well, today there's a lot of rain that came down in the morning, and I know that sometimes it doesn't happen all the time, but when you have a lot of rain, sometimes you just want to get out of the road
Hmm.
so that you don't have to drive in that type of traffic. So I think having a breakdown, a more accessibility to breakdown lanes is very important. It could be
Absolutely.
maybe life saving for
And
people.
on the rain front, we're also doing some drainage improvements on along the highway here. So we'll try to get that water off the roadway as well.
Okay. So what are some of those? What are you trying to do specifically for that?
So the entire project is basically going to be curb and guttered. So you'll have curbs with drainage grates in them, and then there'll be underground drainage to take it off to the waterways, to the flooding areas.
Okay, that's very important to know as well because, yeah, I just want to be able to drive as safe as possible. I'm
Hmm.
thankful that y'all are really thinking about those aspects. Okay, so now I'm hearing maybe a completion date of 2030. Okay, and so some people might just think about a road and think, why wasn't this done yesterday?
Hmm.
So how can you explain the process of I think you initially were starting this maybe in 2021. Is that correct? Like planning for this in 2021 and then and then potentially completing in 2030. Is that correct?
Um, most projects, the average lifespan for a project from the time we develop the concept for it
Hmm.
to hitting construction, we're looking at average around 10 years.
Okay.
Bigger, more involved projects will go longer than that, and then more simple, just a basic reconstruction will be a little bit shorter. But 10 years is the average design span lifetime for a project.
Okay. So So can you break it down to us? Why 10 years? Like why couldn't it be done yesterday? Like what are the things involved that maybe we don't necessarily just know that contribute to the complexity of road construction?
Right. So whenever we find the need for those projects, we go through several studies to make sure that what needs to be done. So we look at the existing roadway that is out there, what deficiencies there are. So are there driveways or intersections that are at a weird angle so that people can't really see when they're looking up or down the highway? We need to make sure that those are corrected. Drainage issues, we'll look at those to see if there's water ponding on the roadway that we need to take care of. So we have all sorts of engineering type of studies, and then there's, along with those, we also have environmental studies. So are we going to be affecting any waterways? Are we going to affect any endangered species? What resident or the residents in the area? What kind of effects are they going to be if we widen to 5 lanes, for instance? So we have all those studies that are going to go on at the very beginning of the process. That can take several years in and of itself. And then we'll get all of the information to a designer. We have some in-house, but a lot of our projects are designed by consultants. And so those consultants or those designers will take all of that information, look at what needs to be done, and start looking at what exists in the area and mapping it out to see what the project should look like ideally. And then they'll start developing those plans. And as they're developing those plans, when they get to 50, 60%, we'll start looking at getting public input. So we'll present those ideas to the public, which is what we're doing here tonight, and getting their feedback, seeing what did we miss. You guys live in this area, we don't necessarily. So we want to hear from you that live here, that drive these roads every day. Uh, Let us know, what problems we didn't see, or maybe there's something on your property that we didn't know about. For instance, this evening I heard one gentleman say the driveway we were planning for him, he has a septic tank right there. So, he doesn't want to move that. We don't want to disturb that. So we're looking at moving that down a little bit on this property. So, we get all that input from the public that we may not know about just because, again, we don't live here. You guys do. So we want to make sure that we have all of that information taken into account. And so once, we have all of the public meetings, we have all of the studies done, the design gets finalized. Once we have a finalized design, it has to be programmed into construction. So we have an 8-year construction plan for our major projects, and during the design phase, it will be programmed in that construction work plan, but it'll be far out in that 8 years, and it can be moved based on how the design is going, how funding is looking, and but once we get close to the finalized design, once we get close to that construction date, that's when we look at letting out the project, which is again bidding it out for contractors to bid on, and they'll bid on it. It'll go to our Transportation Commission for approval, within 4 to 6 months after that approval, that award for the contract, then it will go to construction.
Okay, a lot of steps.
Yes,
A
definitely.
lot of steps.
And I probably missed some stuff as well.
Okay. And then about when you're doing all these plans and all this, what is the average time that you want the road to be up and going before you have to do some more road improvements for that?
So pavements have a roughly 20 to 30-year lifespan, depending on how it's made up, or the mixture material, if it's asphalt or concrete. But we obviously have a asset preservation program. That's another program we have that goes along with our 8-year construction work plan. This is a 4-year asset preservation plan, and that's for our maintenance projects to make sure that any bridges, any highways, they can see out their service life and even extend their service life.
Wow. Okay, so you have again, a lot of details. You mentioned that this road project is in District 8
Hmm.
in this video. And I saw that there was a handout that y'all were giving people that was saying that District 8, at least some of the roads, cover around over 1,600 miles.
Hmm.
So there's a lot of considerations that y'all are thinking about more than just this project. This is just
Absolutely.
one of many projects that you do.
Absolutely. That 8-year construction work plan I was talking about, uh, there's more than $1 million or more than $1 billion worth of projects
Wow.
in each program year. So I think the last year we did it was around $8.6 billion worth of projects statewide.
Wow. So do you know about how many miles of roads that you maintain in Oklahoma?
So ODOT maintains about 30,000 lane miles of
Wow.
highway, and a lane mile, if you consider 1 mile of a two-lane highway, that's actually 2 lane miles. So
Okay.
it's a lane mile is 1 mile of one direction.
Okay. That's a lot. How does ODOT prioritize road repair?
So there's a lot of factors that go into what constitutes a project or what needs are for projects. Safety is obviously our top concern.
Uh,
So is the roadway safe? What safety improvements do need to be made to it? The condition of the roadway that is out there. So whether the pavement's falling apart, whether it needs improvements, just replacing that pavement that's out there. Like I said, safety data, collision data, so historical collisions. Is it a high collision area? Do we need to do something at an intersection to improve it? Um, Public safety, so can fire trucks easily get through there?
hmm.
Can law enforcement, do they have another way around it, or do they, so if that's a roadway prone to flooding, do EMS or police or fire have to go 7, 8 miles out of their way, or anything like that? And then school bus routes, that's another big one for us. So all of that information feeds into how we prioritize projects.
Well, it's obvious, I guess, that you would think about school buses and police and EMS. I was not thinking about that when I was coming here today. Well, obviously, that would make sense when you're thinking about prioritization.
Absolutely.
So, all right, so there's a lot of factors there. And what do you wish people knew about road repair that might think, all right, this should have been done yesterday? What would you like to tell that type of person that thinks like that?
Construction is not an overnight thing. We do have to do all of the planning. We do have to do all of our environmental studies, make sure that we're not harming anything, causing any undue harm to the area, and making sure that all of the engineering is sound, that everything is going to be safe when it's completed.
And I guess just for Oklahoma history, when was the first road done or started on with ODOT? Did you,
So the State Highway Commission or the State Highway Department was ODOT's predecessor, and they started in 1911. The first project they worked on was called the Meridian Road, and it was basically where US 77 runs today, from Kansas down to Texas. And they didn't actually do the contracting on that. They oversaw the counties and the cities that did the contracting on it.
wow. So this is over basically 100 years
Yes,
that y'all
ODOT's been
have been,
around since 1911, technically.
wow. So that's truly back in the day,
Hmm.
long time ago. All
Four
right.
years after statehood.
It's how many years?
4 years after statehood.
Whoa, okay, so it's been here for a long time.
Hmm.
And all right, and then now talking about construction and things like that, how do seasonal weather patterns in Northeast Oklahoma affect when work can start and when it must pause?
So winter is obviously the big factor for us. You can't pour asphalt in really cold temperatures. Concrete's hard to work with in cold temperatures. Striping as well. You can't put down permanent striping on in cold weather. So when you see work happening in the winter, a lot of time it's demolition and getting the old surface up and stuff like that. So that when the spring comes, when the warmer temperatures come, we're ready to get rolling on the work that needs to be done in warmer temperatures. Spring rains, they cause a lot of delays, not necessarily, pushing projects back or anything like that, but obviously weather delays, you can't have too much going on when it's pouring down rain.
Yeah.
So, like I said, winter's the big delay for us, but it's not as bad as, states up north either.
And I know that in our previous interview, you were talking about even the how much you have to think about in terms of maintenance of roads with the slope, snow plows, and all of that as well. So y'all do a lot of thought even in that aspect. If you want to know about that, you can see the previous video that I did with TJ as well. So what are the biggest cost drivers that make roadway improvements more expensive?
We have materials costs, so steel, concrete, asphalt, all of that, and since 2022, construction costs pretty much nationwide have gone up at least 60%.
Wow. Okay.
So, the 8-year construction work plan I was talking about, we haven't added a whole lot of new projects to that in the past 2 or 3 years, just because we're fighting those inflationary costs.
Mm.
So we're moving projects around, making sure that we can still fit them into the program that we do have.
Okay. In this meeting, you were talking about already the impact of community feedback because someone had come here and talked about his septic tank.
Hmm.
And so, but I wanted you, if you could, just elaborate a little bit more further in this. Is community feedback really important to ODOT, and then how does it really impact the plans that you do?
So absolutely, community feedback is important to us. That's why we have these public meetings. We want to hear from you. You still, if you didn't make it out tonight, you still have until May 13th to comment online. Just go to odot.org/public meetings. You can find the link for this meeting, and there's a comment form on that. All the information that was presented tonight is on that page, and you can just go and check it all out and give us a comment. But a lot of times, those public comments that we get, sometimes we didn't think about something, and somebody out here knows about it and lets us know, so we can incorporate that into the design if we need to. Sometimes, a property owner will come up with a question that maybe we didn't consider for their specific property, and we can just help them design around that.
All right, and so you are here also to listen. You are invested in the time and effort it takes for a whole team, not just one person, but
Hmm.
like a whole team of people,
Absolutely.
project managers and engineers and people that I mean, at least one person working with the environmental
Hmm.
side and all of these other people coming here. So y'all are not just saying you want to listen because the proof is in the pudding. I'm talking to you. You're a real person. You're not AI.
Exactly.
At least I don't. I believe you're not AI,
I don't think so.
right? So I mean, then if you're going to invest that time and effort, then if we want to talk about then doing the comments, then we should at least go on a computer and give a comment.
We would very much appreciate those comments.
Yeah,
Yes.
and specifically, and we're not talking about Facebook comments. We're talking about going to the ODOT website
Hmm.
and specifically going there by the deadline, which again was
May 13th on
May
this one.
13th. Okay. All right. And then my last question is, after the project is complete, how will the success of the road improvement be evaluated?
So, this goes back to safety. We want to make sure that at the end of the day, when we leave a project and give it over to our maintenance forces, that the road out there is safe. We may have to re-angle some intersections, re-angle some driveways to make sure that they're at a good angle for drivers whenever they pull up. They're able to see far enough down the highway that they can safely make the turn. Um, but overall, again, we want to make sure that the highway is safe.
All right, excellent. I mean, to me, this was such an educational experience. I really liked it, and I wish you could come, but the meeting's basically over. I think I've used up all the time, but even if you just want to understand about road construction and go deep in that, or even thinking about how can you help someone with disabilities, all that stuff was really talked about in the meeting. I need to do a research about a summer internship. So if you want to even maybe make some money, it might have been worth you just coming just for that. But I'll leave that for another time. All right. So again, thank you so much, TJ,
Thank you.
for just doing this interview.
No problem. Thank you for having me. Okay.
Okay. All right. So we're just going to go. Wow. 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 Okay. Here we go.
Recording?
Yeah, it's recording.
Okay.
We have the wow, 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 and everything is recording everything.
All right.
Are you ready?
Yes.
All right. Hello, my name is Franklin. I'm with.
TJ Gerlach with ODOT.